mantra is 2 words. Please repeat after me. Nitai.
Nitai.
Call and response. Nitai.
Nitai.
Gauranga.
Gauranga.
These 2 words, they open up. These 2 sound vibrations, they open up to the biggest doors to your heart. So if you have a closed heart, be ready. After you chant this mantra, your heart will be so open and you'll be so happy about it. The reason it's hard to find love in this world is because we leave the door closed, because somebody has come in there and left their beer bottles and broken furnitures. And so we close it. But once you open these doors, what happens is those debris laying inside of your heart, they will slowly, automatically venture out of your heart and live a very beautiful space for yourself. So please chant with your heart and let the sound go in through your ears and not just trickle down to your heart, but flush out any debris in your heart. Nitai Gauranga, your turn. Nitai Gauranga, Nitai Gauranga, Nitai put your hands together. You're putting this beautiful two energies of this divine love, the divine masculine and the feminine. You're bringing them in between your palms. You're bringing them together to sink to the beat of your heart. And this is where this in Kirtan, this is how the claps is explained by the sages. The importance of uniting the divine masculine and the divine feminine into our hearts. Nitai Gauranga, Nitai Gauranga, Nitai Gauranga, Nitai Gauranga, Nitai Gauranga, Nitai Gauranga, Nitai Gauranga. It's amazing, the smiles on your faces make me so happy that I can't hold myself from smiling. So this is what this meditation of Kirtan. So now we have one more mantra. You can see this board, can everyone see this? It's a very unique mantra. It's 16 syllables, you will see. And the 16 syllables allow 16 different chambers of the heart to open. Now we've opened up 2 big doors to the heart. Now we're going to open the 16 chambers of the heart. We're talking about the energetic chambers. Krishna, Hare Krishna, 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 Hare Hare,
Krishna, Krishna. Krishna
meditation. Please raise both your hands. And you want to invite this beautiful form of Gauranga. Ready? And it's with one deep breath. You want to invite this beautiful golden form of the Supreme. And it's called Gauranga. And you want to go with one full breath. Take a deep breath, inhale. Take another deep breath. One more. Do you feel the presence of Gauranga in your life? Yes. Perfect. So thank you all so much. You can move all this.
It is a water there.
So today we have a very amazing guest. He's what we in America will call enlightened soul. Someone who has seen the light of the divine, and he has dedicated his whole life to spreading this mission of Bhakti Yoga, this mission of transcendental love. And he's been traveling quite profusely. More recently, he's been spending more time in New York, because as you know, whatever happens in New York, somehow the world catches on. So he's spending time there, cultivating and nurturing the hearts and the minds of those who are seeking this transcendental love. So all of you are very fortunate. I also feel very fortunate. He's here for the day, and he's going to share with us his beautiful realizations and some advice, some suggestions, and this transcendental path of this transcendental love is something that he's been relishing and practicing for, I think, Maharaj, 50 years now? 50 years plus. And he is, if you see someone in that growth, especially in this tradition of bhakti, is someone who is practicing celibacy for life. And that means there's a lot of mind control, sense control. So there's a lot of spiritual essential principles that we can learn from such personalities. So let us welcome. We're going to use the same word in Gauranga because I'm feeling Gauranga. So let's welcome him with a big together. Gauranga!
Shri Chaitanya Manobhistam Sthapitam Jena Bhutale Swayam Rupakada Mahyam Tatati Shapatantikam. Good. Vedasar suggested that I speak a little bit from this book, Vanity Karma, a book I wrote a few years back now. It's a commentary from the point of view of Bhagavad Gita on a biblical book, Ecclesiastes. Are we good on sound level?
Yes, he's messing.
Get it right? You want it to be a little louder?
Yes, so we can all hear.
So
If you want, you
everyone
can move up, Ross. Please move up, please. Come closer.
Take it to 11.
Yeah, good. Ecclesiastes is a profound book of the Old Testament. It's well known for a passage about time. To everything there's a season and a time, to every purpose under heaven. You've heard that verse. But there's a lot more to it than that. The verses, the book is mostly spoken by a sage who's described as a confused wise man, deeply perplexed wise man. This is one of those swan dive mics.
Something happened to it. It should work now.
Usually, once they dive, they dive. Okay. Otherwise, we have another way of dealing with it. Let's see how it does. Okay. He's also presented as a king. He's sometimes said to have been King Solomon, who was known for his opulence and his deep wisdom. This is not too loud, it's feeding back a little bit. Where it needs to face further away. It's just a little bit feeding back. Hare Krishna.
Let's go.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, 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 Hare Hare. It needs to be loud enough, but not so loud that it distorts. That sounds pretty good. Yeah? Okay.
Everyone okay with that?
Yes.
So he's presented as King Solomon, and the book begins with the refrain, the vanity of vanities, all is vanity. Vanity in this context doesn't mean what we usually think of. Usually we think vain means proud, puffed up, egotistical. That's vanity. So there's, what is it, a vanity table? So not that vanity. Vanity here means uselessness, as in all his efforts went in vain, means for nothing. So the speaker begins his book by saying, by declaring that everything is superlatively vain. Everything is useless. And he, after starting with that message, he sets out to prove it, practically speaking. He tells of two experiments that he performed. An experiment of pleasure and an experiment of wisdom. In the experiment of pleasure, he decided that he would enjoy as much as possible while watching himself do it. whatever he wanted, he wouldn't deny himself. And so he became wealthier than anyone else. He had palaces and flocks of animals, and he planted groves of trees, and he had servants, and he had mistresses. He had everything. And his idea was, let me enjoy pleasure. It wasn't sort of this gross out pleasure. It was anything that had refinement to it, but let me enjoy pleasure to the greatest possible extent. And so he did that. He became more opulent, more more able to enjoy than anyone before him in Jerusalem. And then he says, and I saw that it was all vanity, that it was useless. What do I get for all of that? All those possessions, all that wealth, all that pleasure. I still die just like a dog. So what's the use? What was the use? I'm still not satisfied now that I can't say now I have everything, so life is wonderful. It's still pointless. It has no meaning. He uses a word, this vanity. Actually, there's a word, it means like a breath. On a cold morning in the winter, especially up north, you breathe out and your breath is there, visible before you, and then it disappears after a couple of moments. So he says, my pleasure was like that. It's just mere breath. So then he came to his second experiment. Let me become wise. So he describes that he became wiser than all of his predecessors in Jerusalem. But he realized that with much wisdom comes much vexation. As one commentator puts it, he became wiser than it was wise to be. Because he could see deeply that everything was pointless. That the wise man and the fool both go to the same grave. So what was the use of my becoming so very wise? Pleasure, useless. Wisdom, useless. And therefore he calls out again that everything is useless. Life is useless. This is the predicament of this sage. That he sees too vividly the uselessness of everything in this world. And he doesn't really know what to do about it. The book is not a book of analytical philosophy. It's not systematic categories and aphorisms, axioms built up upon to a logical conclusion. He wanders. We're getting an expression of his thoughts as he goes along. And he zigzags. Sometimes he paints brilliantly the sufferings of this world. He said, he says at one point, better not to have lived than to have to see all the pain that people go through in this world. So sometimes it's like that, and then sometimes he says, well, at least there's some enjoyment, let me enjoy. And then he flips back again. He can't really do it, he knows too much. So he can't give himself to something that he knows is ultimately meaningless. So he goes back and forth, back and forth. Clearly a perplexed wise man. He sees no point in life, especially because he sees injustice. A person who people get away with murder, quite literally. The person's evil and vicious and abusive, and he lives to a ripe old age with in comfort and luxury. And someone else who's honest and simple and he has nothing. So he sees that life is unfair. It's not only meaningless, it's worse than meaningless is bad enough. It's worse than meaningless. It's contrary to sense. Senseless is bad, contrary to sense. Absurd in the existentialist sense of the term. And it's mad, it's crazy, it doesn't add up, it's at odds with any kind of rhyme or reason. So he struggles with that. And he sees no answer for this perplexity. So this book, Ecclesiastes, in my book, comes into dialogue with the Bhagavad Gita, spoken by Lord Krishna. And sometimes Bhagavad Gita and Ecclesiastes are, as they say, on the same page. They're just in full agreement. And sometimes they're not. Sometimes the Bhagavad Gita has a different perspective. So this book takes the form of a dialogue, not like a back and forth dialogue, he said, she said, but a commentary, running commentary on the words of Ecclesiastes from the viewpoint of Bhagavad Gita. And with some background also from the biblical commentators, so that we're not just doing a superficial tour. From the Bhagavad Gita, these perplexities are solved by seeing the spiritual identity of the living being. Oddly, this is just not touched upon in Ecclesiastes. The author never asks him, he's questioning everything. Why this, why that, why this, why that? But he never asks, who am I? The question just doesn't come up anywhere in the text. That's like the central first question in the Vedic tradition and in the Bhagavad Gita. Who am I? And he never asks the question. At one point, he gets a little close and he asks, who knows whether the spirit of the human being rises up and the spirit of the animal goes down to the earth. And he drops the question there. He just shrugs his shoulders, says, who knows? Leave that question aside. That's the question from the point of view of the Bhagavad Gita. Who are we? What are we? Are we just manifestations of some temporary material thing? Are we these bodies? Are we Americans and Indians and Germans and French? Are we young and old or thin or fat? Or is there a spiritual essence? Is there an eternally existing particle of consciousness within the body that's different from the body? That's the first question to be examined. Because that changes the whole picture. If I'm just this body, what is the use of my life? You know, if I'm just an assemblage of, what do they say, the building blocks of life, nitrogen, hydrogen, potassium, and what is it, hydrogen, oxygen,
Nitrogen.
yeah, hydrogen, oxygen, potassium, and nitrogen, right? Those are supposed to be the building blocks of life. That's you. Carbon. Oh, that changes the whole picture.
Come on now.
If there's nothing more to us than these material elements, then who cares? You know, your life is worth like $1.50 or something. Maybe $3 with inflation. Just the price of a batch of chemicals. But if that's all we are, then life is vain. Life is pointless, ultimately. And if there's more to us than that, then we can look for meaning beyond this one lifetime. And that's the other aspect of things that the Bhagavad Gita comes to. The speaker of Ecclesiastes looks at life between the bookends, from birth to death, and he examines it with penetrating intelligence, and he sees that it's pointless, it makes no sense. It's all arbitrary. Someone's born into wealth, someone's born into poverty. Random things happen to everyone, just a chance. Makes no sense. But if we see in the larger perspective of many lifetimes, then we see sense. Things make sense, just as you work diligently in high school and you go to a good college. So there's a cause and there's an effect. You work hard, you build up a business, there's a cause and there's an effect. So nothing just happens. We may not know why things happen, but they don't just happen. Like today, we had I don't know what the temperature was. It was pretty warm and pretty humid, but it didn't rain. That's not just by chance. If it rained, 2 days ago, we had this crazy storms and all of that, 2-3 days back. So somebody says, well, why did that happen? No reason. Just happened. By chance. That's unreasonable. Things happen for reasons. And I may not know the reason, but if I went to a meteorologist, he'd start telling me about cold fronts and warm fronts and all of that, and he'd say, okay, because of this and that. Things happen for reasons. So in the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says what happens to us in this life happens for reasons which go back to our previous life and the life before that and the life before that. Things are not just happening randomly. It's not by chance that we were born in America or India or in someplace else. It's not by chance that we're sitting here in a room in Atlanta. It's because of previous background. Because of previous background. From that point of view, we're very fortunate. We have human lives. The dogs and the other animals don't crowd in here to hear something about the meaning of life. They don't care. They don't have the brain for it. It's not even a question. It's just, where's the chow? They eat, they sleep, they mate, they fight. That's their life. But the human beings have higher intelligence. They can ask, what is the meaning of things? So we have this human life, not accidentally, but because of past fortunate activities. And we don't want to blow it. If we use this life just for the same business as the animals, to eat better, to sleep better, then what's the point? And that was the speaker's experience, that I ate better, I slept better, I had better sex, and it was useless. So we're meant for wisdom, we're meant for higher realization. But that begins with understanding who we are. It begins with understanding our spiritual identity. And it extends to asking ourselves, where did we come from? What is the source of everything? So this is the subject of Krishna consciousness. All of these themes we find in the Bhagavad Gita. And we find, if we look for it, meaning in the relationship between the individual consciousness and the Supreme Consciousness. Between ourselves and Krishna. Between ourselves and the Absolute. Well, that Absolute is present in this sound vibration that we were all chanting. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Very simple thing, but it puts us in direct touch with the source of everything, with the Absolute. Because there's no difference between Krishna, the sound, and Krishna, the Absolute. There's no difference between Krishna, the sound, and Krishna, the Absolute. So these are some of the themes that I've written about, and I've given you a small little overview. And maybe you might have some questions. We have a little time for some questions? Okay. I wonder what kind of questions might possibly be bubbling up there someplace. Yes.
So, thank you for your lecture.
You have a second mic?
We did
No.
not.
Just be loud.
Yes, I will be. Thank you. However, if Krishna, Vishnu, the creation, is omnipresent, omnipotent, how can anything be pointless?
If Krishna is omnipresent and omnipotent, how can anything be pointless? we say that nothing is pointless.
It is.
Nothing is pointless. Because Krishna is purposeful, and we have just like a hand of a watch, or a watch is too small, the hand of a clock. The hand of a clock, and the clock's on the wall and the hand's on the floor, is meaningless. You have, maybe an ornate, old-style hand of a clock lying on the floor. What good is it? Totally meaningless. But when it's in the clock, when it's in its place in the clock, then it's extremely useful. You can see what hour it is, what minute. So, from the point of view of Bhagavad Gita, when we're disconnected from the Absolute, when we're disconnected from Krishna, then everything is meaningless. And we go about our little lives doing insignificant nothings, and then it's all wiped out like sandcastles on the beach. So it is meaningless. But when it's connected to Krishna, then it becomes meaningful. My spiritual master, Srila Prabhupada, used to give the example of zero. How much is zero worth? Zero's worth nothing, right?
Depending where it is at. Depending where the zero is at.
Depending where the zero is at, yes, exactly. You may have 1 0 or 2 zeros or 10 zeros. There's still going to be 0. But if you have a 1 in front, then the 0 signifies 10. And if you have 2 zeros, you have 100, and 3 zeros becomes 1,000. So in connection to Krishna, everything has value. And without Krishna, everything becomes useless. Krishna is the absolute truth. If disconnected from the truth, everything is false. And connected with the truth, everything is true. So everything has meaning, but only in relationship to the absolute. Otherwise, it's a clock hand lying on the floor. Okay? Yes? Oh, yes.
Maharaj, you came to the question of the Bhagavad Gita, and even though that is the central question of the Bhagavad Gita, it seems that on the way there you touched on many practical, useful things for life. And I've heard that on the spiritual path, material life becomes easier.
On the spiritual path, material life becomes easier.
But then what is that?
It's not that material life becomes easier, exactly. It's that we go beyond the framework, the context of material life. Material life may get harder. There's no guarantee that everything's going to be easy street. I'm chanting Hare Krishna, and the sun's going to shine, the birds are going to sing, and money is going to fall from the sky, and everything's going to be easy. War can break out tomorrow. You could have riots in Atlanta. They could be burning down the buildings. Anything can happen. You could have a Ukraine war here in America. And it's not that, we're chanting Hare Krishna, so it won't happen. It can happen. Life can get more tough. But the person who's spiritually situated sees beyond the limited context of what we call material life. He sees beyond the body, beyond the immediate context of happiness and distress, gain and loss. He's transcendental to those considerations because he finds happiness within. He finds enlightenment within. So he's not affected by gain or loss, by happiness or so-called happiness or so-called distress. Okay? Yes?
Thank you for the discussion.
Thank you.
It's been my learning that in Hebrew, ecclesiastic has another meaning of he who calls the congregation to order.
Yes. Kohelet, the Hebrew word for Ecclesiastes is Kohelet. And you're quite right, that it means a person, the leader of an assembly. Yeah. So from that point of view, it's an interesting word. The scholars have talked about exactly what it means. But you're right, that's what it means.
So when calling the congregation to order pertaining to vanity, what is the solution to vanity?
When he called the congregation to order, and you tell everyone, well, thank you for gathering today, and I want you to all know that everything is useless. Then what is the solution? The Kohelet isn't quite sure. He really doesn't solve the problem. He goes back and forth and back and forth and back and forth. He doesn't really know. But from the point of view of the Bhagavad Gita, the vanity is transcended, or we come to meaning by discovering our spiritual identity and by discovering our relationship with the Absolute, with Krishna. Is that okay? And thank you for the question. Nice to meet someone who's familiar with the book. Yes?
Yes. So there's the absolute, we're all one, Krishna consciousness. And then I get into the world of dualistic world of this and that. I go to work and there's problems and there's solutions and I forget. And is it like this dualistic life of this and that? It's almost seems like it's designed to wake us up. Like lessons are repeated until they are learned.
Mm-hmm.
And is it designed that way to just force your mind gradually up to the absolute and then be able to see that? I had my mind there, but I get lost sometimes in the this and that.
We have the absolute and the oneness of the absolute, but then we get into the practical world and it's full of dualities. So are these dualities designed to sort of push us up to the higher level? Is that?
Yeah, that and how to operate in a dualistic
How to
way.
operate in
work and then also be anchored in the absolute.
How can we be anchored in the absolute when we're operating amidst all these dualities? Yeah. The first thing is to see that the absolute is not limited to non-duality. We sometimes think that on the absolute platform, there's no individuality. There are no distinctions between anything and anything else. There's absolute homogeneous oneness. And that is one realization of the absolute, to see the absolute as a sort of unlimited and ineffable force, or ineffable truth. But there are higher realizations of the same absolute. That same, according to Bhagavatam, Vedic literature, That same absolute truth can be found within the heart as the indwelling guide. Within everyone's heart, you don't have to look elsewhere. You can look within and find that God is there. And yoga traditionally was meant for seeing that indwelling guide, seeing that Paramatma, as he's called, within the heart. And within all living beings, within the dog, within the tree, within the bird, within all human beings. And then there's a higher realization of the same absolute truth. And that's realization of personality of Godhead, in which the absolute truth is seen as having form, qualities, activities, personality. And the Bhagavatam says these are all the same absolute truth, but seen from different angles of vision. In the beginning, seen as one undivided substance. Then later seen as the absolute guide within the heart. And ultimately seen as the personality of Godhead. Like a mountain, you see it as a cloud from a distance. You get closer up and you see there's forests and there's different things. You get right up close and you see here's an oak tree, here's a poplar tree. Same mountain, but seen first vaguely and then very distinctly. So when we see the absolute only in the impersonal feature, it becomes very hard to connect anything here with that absolute truth, because, as you said, they have an duality. And there's not supposed to be any duality in the truth. So I'm in some kind of illusion where I'm seeing differences and I can't connect the truth and to the illusion in any sensible way. So I'm sort of, what am I doing here? And how do I get out of this? And maybe I can meditate and sort of come to the remembrance of that absolute, but then again it disappears. I have to go back to work, and so it's extremely. Krishna himself says in the Bhagavad Gita, "Klesho tikata rastesha avyakta sattva." When we attach ourselves to that impersonal view of the absolute, progress in spiritual realization is very difficult. Troublesome. Klesha means giving trouble. It's arduously troublesome. So that, but when we have the personality of Godhead, then we see everything in terms of its relationship with the truth. If the truth is seen as the personality of Godhead, that truth has all sorts of energies. As the sun has heat and light, so the Absolute, or Krishna, has varieties of energies. And some of them are spiritual energies, some of them are material energies, but they all have their connection with Krishna. So the hot weather and the cold weather are both connected to Krishna. My home and my office are both connected to Krishna. Happiness and distress are both connected to Krishna. Everything's connected to Krishna. All living beings are connected to Krishna. So in this way I can see everything in its individual existence, and at the same time totally integrated with the Supreme Truth. And with that understanding, then I can act. I can use everything in the service of the truth. I can see everything in relationship to the truth. Because now it's not some sort of illusion that has no, somehow has to be obliterated before I can come to a higher stage. No, it has its reality. It may be temporary. In this world, everything's temporary. The house is temporary, the city of Atlanta is temporary, Earth is temporary. Everything there is, materially, is temporary. That doesn't make it false, it just makes it temporary. But there's also a permanent truth, and that's the Atma, or consciousness within the body. The body's temporary, but consciousness is ever existing. So both are true, but one is only temporarily manifest and the other is permanently manifest. Now we're misidentifying the two. I'm thinking I'm that ever-existing particle of consciousness, and I'm identifying with something that's here today, gone tomorrow. This body, here today, gone tomorrow, and I'm mistaking it for myself. That's the illusion. It's not that the existence of the body it's not really there. You know, somehow or other some spell has come over me and I'm imagining that there's my body and your body, that's two different bodies, now we have duality. No, it's there, but it's not permanently there. It's not permanently there. And when I mistake it for myself, that's the illusion. So we want to get free from that illusion by identifying ourselves with what we really are, not with what we falsely think we are. Then action becomes practical also. Bhagavad Gita is ultimately a book of action. Arjuna is a man of action. But in the beginning he's a confused man of action, and at the end he's an enlightened man of action. Is that okay? Thank you, good question.
Are we going to learn any meditation today? Because someone said...
That's a question for Vedasar.
We just finished. We had 1 hour meditation.
Oh, all right.
There's plenty on his YouTube channel.
I just love to feel the sense that God is playing hide and seek with us, and that our job is to find it. So it's like that's the action. It's like my work is to find God behind everything. So it's when I go and say, this is when the 1 and the 0 have the meaning. So it's like playing a game. So life, even if it's very hard many times, it can also become like a playground, like the lila.
It becomes a very happy business.
Yeah.
Vishvam Purnam Sukhayate. It's said that when one takes this chanting of Hare Krishna, the whole world becomes blissful. Your whole world becomes blissful. Vishvam, filled with happiness. Vishvam Purnam Sukhayate. Yes. Thank you.
Yes, just your definition, thank you for the lecture, it was really beautiful. Your definition for your experience and everything, you can make it short. What is the meaning of life?
Oh, simple question. No. The meaning of life is found in our relationship with Krishna. That's where you'll find it.
Just want to make a quick observation. Interesting that vanity is the subject of your book, and that my understanding of the Latin of that is, to go to the nadir, the source. I think that's what the Latin translation is to go to zero, to the source.
Is to go
to go?
No, it's not from Va.
You don't think so?
No. At least that's not what the Latin scholars say.
So what's your translation of it?
Vanitas really means the same thing as the Hebrew word, which is hedel. It means emptiness.
To go to.
It means the same thing as the English word vanity in the sense of pointless. That's why when they translated the Hebrew into Greek and then into Latin, they chose that word. You start with the Hebrew word, hedel. It means it means really, literally, the meaning is a breath, a mere breath. You know how much. You know, it appears and then it's gone on a winter day. So the theme of this book, Kohelet or Ecclesiastes, or its principal motif, because there are a lot of themes, is this question of meaninglessness. And that's exactly what Vanitas was chosen to represent. It doesn't come from like va as an ear, va, vamos, va. It's not that va. It's we can look it up. I have a Latin dictionary somewhere, but it has to, the literal meaning is pointlessness. So that's the question. Does my life have meaning? If it has meaning, how does it have meaning? So this book, of course, is called Vanity Karma, but it's not all about vanity. It's also on what makes life have meaning. If it has meaning, where is that meaning? So it's, again, it's Ecclesiastes in discussion with Bhagavad Gita. So at the end of the book, you'll have a good understanding of both books, of Ecclesiastes and Bhagavad Gita.
That was my comment. We need to read your book.
Yeah, I almost said that when you asked what's the meaning of life. Buy my book.
He's the writer. The answer is
So, would you be willing to sign up if people want to?
Yeah, sure.
So, do we have any books?
Yeah, we do.
Ross has some books. Can you stand up, Ross, so people can find you? Who would like to have this book? How much is the book, Ross?
Whatever you want.
You give. So, as a sannyasi, he lives on whatever people feed him, he eats. If they don't feed him, he doesn't eat. And I know that this book was published by the BBT, which means none of the proceeds go to him. It goes to a third party who publishes more books to distribute knowledge around the world. Most people write books to make money or whatever reasons. But I think his mission is to strictly give out knowledge and have a little manual for you. So am I correct? This is published by BBT, right?
Yeah.
And all proceeds go to BBT. It doesn't go to him. And if you buy one now, then he will sign off on it. And as our dear friend said,